All right. Hey, everybody. We like to kick these things off by just giving us a couple minutes for more people to kind of trickle into the event as they click on the link and get settled in. So we will be starting in just 2 minutes. We'll say, or 3 minutes, we'll say 12:03. We'll start giving people a chance to click the link and get settled in here. So 2 minutes, we'll be back here to start. If you're just getting in the Zoom, we will be starting in about 2 minutes or about 1 minute now, 12:03. We like to give a couple minutes to let people trickle in here and click the link to get settled in. So we will be started here in just a minute. All right, we'll go ahead and kick things off. Some people have come in, so we'll get started. And yeah, Andy, go for it.
Hello, this is Andy McCullum, and I'm here with Nate Messer, and Mr. Jacob Seif's going to join us here in a minute. But we are with Resource One Advisors, and we just wanted to present this webinar out there as an educational event, I guess, for anyone who is questioning what they do with their investments. And the more I've studied it, really, this concept of biblically responsible investing, I realize that most people don't even know it's a thing. And most people go to their jobs and they have a retirement plan and they check the box and say, okay, I'm going to defer this amount and get the match, and definitely want to do that. And you pick a few random funds and hope they do well over time. And you don't really know what those companies that you actually own in those funds are doing with the money that God has entrusted to you. And we're called to be good stewards with our money, so we want to know what's going on with that. And this has really been eye-opening for me over the last few weeks to study this and to learn about what is available for just your standard investors and what we can do with trying to honor God and how we invest his money. So again, I'm here with Nate Messer. He's one of our young stars here at Resource One Advisors. And I'm going to hand it off to him, and he's going to introduce Jacob to run the program for us today, just to get us a little bit of education. But go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, like Andy said, this is something that we've dove into and we have become pretty passionate about. We like to be up forward with our group, with our team, that we are a faith-based company, that we are grounded in our Christian morals and values. And so, like you said, we found that most people don't really know what all they're invested in, and that if given the chance to maybe shift some things that align more with their morals and their faith and what they believe in, they'd be open to doing that. And so we just want to use this webinar as an opportunity to put it out there to let people know that this is an option. So our friend Jacob was nice enough to come on here and help present this concept to you all, kind of taking us through a series of slides and some stories. So I'll kick it over to him. Jacob, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Andy and Nate. It's great to partner with you, and everybody on the call. Thank you so much for welcoming me onto your screens. I know it's an exciting time of the year, Christmas time, a lot to be thankful for. And this is probably one of the last webinars that you may attend for the year. So hopefully we can go out on a high note together. Andy, Nate, would you be able to confirm, is everyone able to see my slides okay before we begin?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Looks good.
Thank you, everybody. Well, you may want to know, hey, who is it that's speaking with you? So yes, my name is Jacob Seif. I work for a company called Eventide Asset Management. If you haven't heard of us before, we really pioneered this concept of faith-based and biblically based investing 17 years ago. Our founder was a Harvard trained medical doctor who felt that he could make a greater impact in people's lives by being intentional about allocating capital to businesses and making a difference as an investor. And just so you know, we want to be able to walk you through kind of these three pillars or three dimensions of biblically responsible investing that we've developed. This is not a sales pitch. Hopefully this is something that can get the gears turning in your own hearts and minds, and you can ask questions like Andy had mentioned before, ownership questions, right? And be able to move from just having a 401k and thinking about investing as something that you do, kind of checking a box, and making a more active and intentional effort to align your investments, the wealth that you're building kind of on this earth, on this kingdom, toward kind of kingdom-minded principles that you believe and hold deeply. So without further ado, I am going to share about the three dimensions of biblically responsible investing. And we want to be able to share this in a way that is somewhat interactive and weaving in kind of personal narrative, so you're able to really have this story come to life for you personally. I think this is a really good place to start. It is really asking ourselves this question: what comes to mind when we think about investing? I'd encourage you to kind of close your eyes along with me and kind of think about what are the images and words and things that come to mind. Some of us may be thinking about our financial advisor, our 401k, Bitcoin. There could be a number of things that come to mind. If you're like me, this imagery is often something that pops in our heads. I like to refer to this as the financial or the machinery, if you will, of the financial industry. You turn on CNBC, you turn on Fox News, and you see images of the New York Stock Exchange and traders kind of in the pit there, and charts and graphs going up and down, and the ticker tape of all of the stocks trading on the exchanges and the prices shifting around. There's a whole media empire built around this, trying to keep and maintain our attention. Unfortunately, I think if you're like me, many of us are more confused by this than ever. It's not really providing education as much as it is just providing clickbait television and news articles. So we're very confused as investors to what investing actually means. I really like this quote from William Kavanaugh from DePaul University. He describes, I think, what we've all felt before, is that retirement accounts tend to just go into mutual funds or investments where not only do I not have any idea of how the companies that I have stock in are being operated, I don't even know what kind of companies I have stock in. If you would agree with this assessment, then you are in the right place, because at the end of the day, all of us have values. That's probably the safest, least controversial statement that I or anyone can make today. We all have values. those values may overlap, they may diverge at certain places, but we put a premium on things in our lives, and it influences the decisions that we make, whether it's wanting to support our neighborhood or community, public schools, health and well-being. Maybe we've got some CrossFitters on the call here, or marathon runners, or maybe your personal faith, or a belief in a more sustainable future, are values that you hold dear. And I'm here to say that you are able to hold on to those values, and it actually can inform and transform the way that you think about investing. And so I'm going to tee up our conversation today by really sharing a personal story of a friend of Eventide. This is a local pastor of Park Cities Presbyterian Church in Dallas, Texas. And he gave us permission to really share his story and how he began to view investing in a different way. And hopefully it can be compelling and something that you all are able to relate to as well. So this is our friend Blake Schwartz in this picture here with his grandmother. They were very close, as you can tell. I imagine this picture is kind of taken during the holidays. I think I see some wrapping paper there. And so it gives me warm feelings and nostalgia of being with my grandmother as well. Unfortunately, Blake's grandmother had passed away when he was 8 years old, tragically, from lung cancer. And Blake and his grandmother were very close. Fortunately, Blake's grandmother had excellent financial advisors like Nate and Andy, and they did some planning for her. So she was able to, before she passed, set up trusts for each of her grandchildren that they would inherit whenever they turned 18. Fast forward in time, in the early 2000s, Blake turns 18 and he starts meeting with these financial advisors to talk about this trust account. He wants to be able to manage that money prudently and wisely. Well, it didn't take long, but after that first meeting, Blake became dismayed, and there was some real friction in that relationship, not with the financial advisor, but in how he viewed investing. You see, the investment account was concentrated in stock in one particular company. About 80% of the account was in one company. And most advisors would say you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket, right? You've probably heard that saying before. That wasn't the thing that troubled Blake the most. What he found most troubling was that the company itself that dominated that portfolio was a company called Altria Group. For those unfamiliar, this is a large tobacco conglomerate that manufactures many different types of tobacco products, including cigarettes. Ironically, they manufactured the type of cigarette that Blake's grandmother preferred to smoke. And again, she passed away from lung cancer. So you're able to see this tension Blake feels, where he feels blessed and fortunate to have received some financial stability, some means that he can do something with, but also this tension of, man, this evokes all sorts of feelings about, my grandmother and maybe my personal values. And, if companies like Altria weren't in a position to prosper and flourish, grandma may be here today. I mean, there's just so much to unpack there. Really what he is getting at is the critical thesis, the central thesis for Eventide. Investing is ownership. That's something that we believe. It's why we founded our company. And really what we're describing here is this relationship that we have as investors to businesses, to companies. We're actually investing our money in real companies. Maybe it's through mutual funds or some other investment vehicle. But when we're invested in the market, we're not invested in some nebulous thing. We are really profiting from real businesses. And we're entitled to dividends and hopefully growth. And that is the investor company relationship. And we would argue, and I would submit that there is an additional responsibility, there's an ethical responsibility associated with that, especially if you're a believer, especially if you're a Christian, because you are profiting from all of the activities of these businesses that you're investing in. And so this, I hope, is a springboard to a conversation around the 3 dimensions of biblically based investing. We call this avoid, embrace, and engage. And so I'm going to kind of unpack those with you, and then we'll wrap it up and put a bow on it. And hopefully it gives you something to think about here during the Christmas season. So the avoidance piece is key. It's the least that a company like Eventide or others that you kind of put themselves out there as faith-based can be doing. Many of you, when you probably heard the topic of the seminar, were probably assuming that faith-based or biblically based investing means avoiding harmful or problematic businesses. And that makes sense. That is a core part of it. The avoidance piece means you ask questions like, what are my non-negotiables? What are things that I can't own in good conscience? Some of these problem areas are abortion, tobacco, alcohol, pornography, or explicit entertainment, gambling. This list is not exhaustive, but it represents industries that we believe detract value from society and have harmful tendencies and exploitative business practices. And so those are areas that we seek to avoid at Eventide. But of course, it's not exclusive or exhaustive. And there may be other issues not mentioned here that matter deeply to you. The importance is that you're asking questions about what are companies that just don't align with my values. Back to Blake's story, and we'll kind of make this really personal here. So this is a picture of Britton. This is Blake's first child, baby boy. And you can see he's really cute here. Reminds me of my son, who's now almost 2 years old. And he's at daycare now. But I remember these days and this time fondly. Unfortunately, and as a young parent, I can experience this. It's tragic when you hear that something is wrong with your kids. You want to help them. In this situation, Blake couldn't. You see, Britton was born with a genetic disease called spinal muscular atrophy. You can see kind of a picture here from a medical textbook. It's also known as floppy baby syndrome. And really what this is involved with is that your body produces a specific protein called a survival motor neuron, and it allows your muscular and skeletal system to be able to fully develop. And if you're lacking that neuron, like those that have SMA, there's a very low likelihood that you would survive. I think the chances of surviving at this time beyond 24 months was only about 20%, and virtually 0% likelihood of surviving much beyond that. Tragically, Britton had passed away after 6 months, and so they didn't have much time with him. The only thing that is worse than losing a child to a genetic disease is having another child years later that was diagnosed with the same disease. In this picture, you see Alice Arthur, a little girl, and Blake's wife on a plane. Now, what happened in the last 4 years between Britton and Alice Arthur? Something amazing happened. There wasn't just one, but there were 2 gene therapies that were in development and testing, that there were businesses and doctors, the community working together to try to identify a safe and effective cure for spinal muscular atrophy. This is a picture of Alice Arthur going to the Ohio State University Medical Center to be the 13th child or patient enrolled in a clinical trial for one of these gene therapies. This was also from a company that Eventide had invested in back in 2016. So we feel very personally attached to this story. Now, I didn't go to Harvard. I'm not a medical doctor. And so I'll attempt to explain gene therapy at a really high level. Essentially, what it is that we notice that there are broken chains within our DNA where there is a certain protein, in this case, there's that survival motor neuron that needs to be replaced with a good protein. And they're able to really engineer that at this microscopic level to produce healthy cells. And that is able to kind of effectively allow your body to function properly. And what's incredible is that the clinical trial was a success. And so Alice Arthur is here today, and you can see her in the blue dress, happy and smiling. I know this is a couple years old, but a beautiful picture. And I love this quote from Blake where he talks about this redemptive purpose in the world and what God is doing through the power of capital, through investing, that it enables the changing of people's lives. I know that he felt that personally. And so really what Blake is talking about is this ethical responsibility that we mentioned in this investing as ownership diagram, that we can understand that we risk money, we supply money to companies indirectly, and we're entitled to revenue and growth and profit from that. But we're profiting from all of the activities of those businesses. And so what Blake is getting at here is there are companies like these tobacco companies for him that were a non-negotiable, that he didn't want to profit from the harmful activities of those businesses. He would much rather give and supply capital to companies that can make a positive impact on the world. This is that engage lens that we've been talking about, this positive opportunity. It's more than just avoiding what makes you uncomfortable or what you feel is immoral, but it's embracing, as that second dimension, embracing companies that you're proud to own. These are businesses that we believe are truly seeking to serve society and promote human flourishing. These are the Chick-fil-A of businesses, right? These are companies that are profitable, that are run well, and really demonstrate really the best of the business community and companies that are ethically run. To us, that's why we developed this tagline of investing that makes the world rejoice. That is our pursuit. We want to identify highly impactful companies that are making the world rejoice and really promoting human flourishing. How do we do this? I think this is a helpful visual. We start with what are big themes in the market that we want to participate in. Maybe it's AI or cybersecurity or energy infrastructure, or in the case of Blake and his family, pediatric medicines and diseases. How can we find the best companies within these themes? And so we start here, and then we start looking at companies really at the microscopic level. And we want to determine not just is that company fairly valued or not, or do we think the stock price is going to go up? But we take this holistic or 360-degree view of every company within our portfolio or a company that we're looking at, and we look to analyze how does that business interact with its customers, employees, suppliers, the local communities where those companies operate, the environment, and society. Our belief is that companies that support and love these stakeholders well flourish and prosper in the long run. And so we ask questions. We ask, is this company meeting an important need? Are customers delighted? Are suppliers valued as strategic partners? Is the environment being cared for and protected? We just want to be conscious of those things because we think the best companies serve the needs of others. Finally, we've reached the last dimension here: avoid, embrace, and then engage. And this topic has been in the news lately, where people are realizing that you have a voice. how to use your power as a shareholder to really partner with companies to continue down that path of excellence. We do this in three ways. We have close relationships with management teams for companies that we own. And so we have a direct line of communication with management. We want to keep them accountable and informed of things that our analyst team sees. We're active in voting proxies on behalf of our clients, and we do that through this Christian values perspective. And then we also want to be an advocate and really open up a dialogue on issues that come up that are important to the faith community. A lot of times it takes companies really having you approach them with a spirit of humility to really open up a dialogue. One example was there was an online retailer that we owned, and they were charging an astronomically high interest rate on one of their credit cards. And we were able to engage that company as a shareholder and get them to change vendors to drop that rate down to a much more reasonable kind of industry standard level. So there are ways that through partnerships with management teams, proxy voting, and an active dialogue with company that can yield positive outcomes and positive change. Now, what happens to these stakeholders when businesses ignore these kind of vital parts? It may be intuitive, but a lot of people are not asking these questions. So when a business cuts back on quality, customers are not happy. I'm sure we can all imagine and recall a time when companies lost your trust. Why would you want to invest in a company like that? I'm sure that will hurt the bottom line of that business. Maybe we've worked for or had some friends or family work for a company where their employees were just checked out. They could not retain an employee to save their life. How is that a recipe for long-term success? I think on the contrary, you'd rather have employees that want to be there and give their best. And there are examples across the board. When a company harms society, the world is made worse. But not only that, but there is now a stigma associated with that business. I don't have a TikTok myself, but I think about social media as one of those things. The unintended consequence of social media is that it can be harmful. We've heard it described as the new tobacco of our generation. There's all sorts of data privacy concerns and the like, and it just makes you think about those industries a little bit differently. Now, conversely, when companies excel in these areas, the story is so different. Companies that delight their customers see revenue growth and referrals. Employees that love working for their business, they're not a cost to the bottom line, but they're driving value by bringing their best to work and having low labor turnover. Companies that are received well in their local communities, they're hiring local, they have support of the local governments. It's very, very, very favorable. And we believe, and we've seen this time and time again, that companies that serve the needs of these stakeholders prosper well in the long run. So we believe what is wise and ethical is not only that, but it's also a smart business decision. And that's why we call this process Business 360. For those that are curious and readers, add this to your Christmas stocking list. This is a book. I love this book. It's called The Ultimate Question by Fred Reichheld. He is a professor up in Boston and developed the concept called a Net Promoter Score. So maybe some of you have kind of taken a survey where a company asks you to rate them, like how likely are you to refer this business from a scale of 0 to 10? That is Fred's baby. That's his invention, and he explains why that is relevant here. There is a book that he wrote recently that I'm going to do a quick plug for called Winning on Purpose. And it's all about the unbeatable business strategy of loving customers. So I think this is great if you're a business owner or a leader or someone that just likes nonfiction. I think this makes a really practical argument for why businesses that are mindful of their customers are exceptional investment opportunities. And then for those employees as well, this MIT professor in their Sloan Business School, Zeynep Ton, excuse me, wrote the Good Job Strategy. In this, she profiles 4 retail companies and how they excel at creating value on their bottom line, as well as through these kind of maximizing the employee as a stakeholder. So talks about Costco and some other exceptionally run businesses here. I think this is a great pickup and one that I've read as well. As we close out, I wanted to leave us with a couple of quotes here. Ed Freeman is a professor at the UVA Business School, and I really like what he brings to the table here. He offers up that business ethics shouldn't be an oxymoron, right? These two concepts are not redundant. They're thinking about stakeholders is thinking about business, and thinking about stakeholders is thinking about ethics. It comes to the same thing. We can look at business through an ethical framework and it still be positive for investors wanting a quality and strong bottom line. These are the 3 dimensions here: avoid, embrace, engage. Our belief is that you're able to pursue integrity by doing this, that you can experience wholeness, knowing that you're investing in companies that are in aligned with your values. You're creating an impact in the world. You're investing in highly impactful companies, and you're not doing it for charity solely. You're doing it because you're seeking out performance. You want to be able to meet your financial goals and objectives. We believe all these things are true. We believe that our values can make a difference when we invest. I'm going to leave you with a quote from an unlikely source. This was a editorial from the New York Times, and I think it really summarizes our conversation today about these 3 dimensions of biblically responsible investing. They say this: try thinking about it being investing. Try thinking about investing in this way. Living your values in every way as best you can often delivers a positive emotional return. So any realignment of your portfolio may offer more value than you think. Hopefully that's a good point to end on. Hopefully the gears are turning. Maybe you have some questions that you're thinking about. I hope I presented this concept of biblically responsible investing in a unique and engaging way. I've really gotten to know the team well over the last few years at Resource One. I know they're committed to a biblically responsible investing, wanting to have these conversations with you. So my encouragement would be to contact your advisor, have a conversation about what this can mean for you. It's not about what it means for me. It's really what it means for you and what your values and convictions are. I'm going to hand things over to Andy and Nate, who will close us out, but it has been an absolute pleasure getting to speak with you all today. Thank you for welcoming me into your homes, and I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Jacob. That was fantastic. The story of Pastor Blake really struck home with me. In fact, my second oldest son and his wife had a baby just yesterday, and this is our 3rd grandchild for me and my wife. But thinking about if the Lord tarries in His return, and Esther Grace is her name, and she's going to be around here a lot longer than me, Lord willing. And makes you want to think about that, investing in what promotes human flourishing, not just what grows your retirement account. We can do both, but that focus on human flourishing is really a great concept. I'm gonna throw it back to Nate and let him give you some information on how you can contact us. And then I will say this: my man Nate here is about to get married here in a few weeks as well. I wanted to let everyone know that. So
yeah, thanks, Andy. Yeah, thank you all for tuning in, for watching. If you've got any questions, Jacob, thank you as well for the presentation. We really appreciate your time and energy being here. I'll be the point of contact from here on out. If you guys are interested, we'd love to talk more. If you've got questions about this, you want to know a little bit more about Jacob Eventide, some of the options that we, Andy and I can help with and provide as well. My email is nmesser, so that's NMESSER at RS, the number 1A, so rs1a.com. You can also give our office a ring as well. That's 636-458-1798. And then I will be shooting follow-up emails after this as well to everyone that attended or even couldn't make it if you're watching this back as well. So you can also just respond to that email too. So just wanted to thank you all for being here. We'll be in contact with you and want to wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you, Jake.
Thanks again. Take care, everyone.